With that, good evening, everyone. It is now 7:34 p.m. Today is Wednesday, October 13, 2021. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held remotely and recorded via Zoom due to the COVID-19 pandemic and is in compliance with the provisions of Executive Orders 103 and 104, the Open Public Meetings Act, and associated regulations. Notice of this meeting was published in the Bergen Record on January 20th, 2021, and the Ridgewood News on January 22nd, 2021, posted on the front doors of Borough Hall and posted on the borough's website. The notice included the dial-in and login information necessary for public participation and access to this meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for this meeting was made available on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in and login information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, please press the raise hand button on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. The board will address you by name or by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address prior to making a public comment. Members of the public were permitted to submit written comments prior to the meeting via mail or email, which will be read during the public comment period. With that, I turn it over to Marina to call the roll.
Okay. The mayor is absent tonight. Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Ms. Boland?
Here.
Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Grasso is absent, excused tonight. Mr.
Yes.
Cray?
Here.
Mr. Arkelian is absent tonight. Council President Cunigo?
Here.
Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
And Mr. Pfeffer and Mr. Esposito are also absent tonight.
Okay, appreciate everybody attending this evening. The first item on the agenda for this evening is approval of minutes. We have minutes from our meeting of September 8, 2021. I open it to the board for comments on the minutes as submitted. There being no comments, may I entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
So made, Merman. Second, Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. Thank you, Mr. Cray.
Do we want to, we can do a voice vote
Voice
for
vote?
this,
Okay,
or we can do roll call, whatever you'd like.
we can do a voice vote. That's fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, there being none.
All
The
right.
minutes of the September 8th meeting are approved. Our next item on the agenda this evening, the minutes for our meeting from September 22nd, 2021. Open to the board for comments on the minutes as provided. Any comments? There being none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved, Gibbons.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Have a
Second.
Second, Merman.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? All right, the minutes for our meeting of September 22nd are approved as is. Thank you, everyone. Next item on our agenda this evening is memorializations. This is a resolution granting variances for maximum lot coverage and maximum improved lot coverage to Rusta and Narmadan Kumarasamy, 364 Valley Road, Block 905, Lot 27. Open it to the board for comments on the resolution, please. Okay, there being none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve, please.
So moved, Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Cray. I think I have a second from Mr. Gibbons.
Okay, I'll do the roll call.
Thank you.
Mr. Caslin?
Yes.
Ms. Boland?
Yes.
Mr. Merman?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Councilman Cunigo is ineligible to vote on the memorialization because he voted no on the application. So, Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We have no new applications for completeness review this evening and no new business. So we will move to the old business section.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to excuse myself now because I'm ineligible, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Councilman.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
So I don't believe our planner has yet joined us at this time. I don't
No,
see-
but we could put on the record the matters that we're carrying.
Sure, we can do that. Under old business, the item for Perkins concerning 311 Kinderkamack Road, block 1004, lot 26. This is an application that was carried from our meeting on September 22nd. It's now being carried to October
It-
27th and
Act-
possibly beyond. Is that correct?
Actually, this is going to be carried to December 8th, 2021.
December 8th, 2021. Okay. So if anyone is in attendance this evening, looking for the Perkins application, that will be heard, as you just heard, by the board on our December 8th, 2021 meeting. Okay.
Yes, and then we have the Breton application as well. I don't know if that was on the most recent agenda.
I don't see it on here, Ed.
That's Breton is 17 Elizabeth,
17 Elizabeth Street.
Okay.
and that's going to be carried to October 27th, 2021.
October
Correct.
23rd.
So
Okay.
if anyone is listening or sees the recording, the Breton application will be heard on October 27th.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. With that, I see Steve Lyden has joined us this evening. Good evening, Steve.
Yeah, good evening and sorry for the delay, Mr. Chairman. My computer decided to restart between work and now. I don't know why. And that took longer than I thought it would.
Not,
So
not
my
a problem.
apologies.
Glad to have you aboard. You are acting in place of our borough planner, Mr. Tom Behrens, this evening.
That is correct, yes.
Who's had a conflict for this evening's meeting. So with that, I'd like to turn back to the agenda under old business. This is the application for Gregov, Amanda, and Paul, 470 Windsor Road, block 815, lot 16. This was carried from our meeting on August 25th, 2021. This is seeking variances concerning the installation of an in-ground pool. Good evening. I see we have the applicant is with us. Good evening, folks. So for the record, I think, do you have anyone else with you this evening, or it's just you?
Just us.
Just you. Okay, very good. So starting off, could you provide for the board a summary of the most recent submissions that you've made?
Yeah, sure. So when we discussed last time, the improved lot coverage was too high of a percentage. So we discussed carrying this forward and making an adjustment to the site plans, which we've done. You'll see two site plans. One's at, I think, 43.7% improved lot coverage, and the other one is at 41.2% improved lot coverage. The 43.7 is what we would prefer strongly, because it has a very small 2 to 3 foot patio around the pool, which we discussed last time, just for, to prevent slippage, things like that, as it gets muddy when water spills out of a pool. So we wanted a little bit of patio there beyond the coping, which would get us to the 43.5 or 43.7, sorry. If we remove all of that patio, it gets us to 41.2 with the same size pool, 14 by 28, which is smaller than an average size pool. So that's the smallest pool that for us would be worth installing. So we wanted to present that to the board for their consideration this evening. Anything to add?
No, I think that's it. I think we went over a lot of
our reasoning behind this last time. So we're coming back with a more hopefully acceptable plan.
Okay. Thank you for that. Steve, I'll turn it over to you.
I have reviewed the plans that have been submitted. I think they were at the midpoint of September, and the testimony is consistent with what the drawings are depicting. So although the plans have changed, we're still looking at a variance for improved lot coverage. It's down somewhat from the previous application, and that's really what it is. As indicated, we've gone through a lot of testimony in this application, and it's fairly straightforward. It's up to the board to decide whether or not the variance and the testimony provided meet the statutory criteria.
Steve, maybe if you wouldn't mind, would you just summarize for the benefit of the applicant what the criteria is to meet the application?
Sure. We're talking about a C variance, and there are, because it's the municipal land use law, it's somewhat complicated. A C1 variance is a traditional variance, and that has 3 parameters to it for which the board can grant an approval. By reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property, that's one basis. By reasons of exceptional topographic conditions or physical features uniquely affecting a specific property is the second one. And the third one is by reason of an extraordinary and exceptional situation uniquely affecting a specific piece of property. Those are the C1 bases for the grant of a bulk variance. The C2 ordinance, to summarize, is basically where the benefits of the deviation don't necessarily accrue to the applicant, but to the surrounding neighborhood. So for instance, there may be a landmark tree on a property, and in order to maintain and preserve the tree, a shed has to be, or it doesn't have to be, but an applicant wants to put a shed in a setback location. The presence of the tree might be a basis for that grant. And then, of course, there's also the negative criteria, and no variance should be granted, whether it's inherently beneficial or not, use without a showing that such variance or other relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. And when they say substantial detriment to the public good, it generally means a neighborhood. And then the master plan and the zoning ordinance. Master plans don't usually get down to impervious coverage in single family lots. So there's really not a lot to report with the master plan. And the zoning ordinance is what gets us here, because there's a variance being sought from that. In a nutshell, that's the statutory criteria that every variance applicant is required by provisions of the municipal land use law to satisfy.
Okay, thank you for that, Steve. Open up the questions from the board. Mr. Craig, can I start with you? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, just one question. This is a function of my bad memory. So I believe there was some discussion at the last meeting regarding whether the pool was calculated within the impervious coverage or not. Is that correct? Or am I thinking?
It was calculated within the.
I think that was with a different application.
That was a different, okay. So the impervious coverage is, okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Ms. Boland?
Yes, have you considered taking away the side walkway between the driveway and the backyard to sort of make up for coverage?
We've considered it, but since we moved into the house last April, we didn't, and it was new, and we kind of designed some of those pieces. They didn't design it, but the builder was kind of
Worked with us.
worked with us.
Okay.
We didn't want to rip it up because we just moved in last April.
Yeah, and we do find it really helpful for a lot of reasons.
We use
We-
the back door a lot.
We use the back door a lot. We have our parents come and watch our son while we're both at work on certain days, and it's really easy for them with the stroller to go back there. You know, we've definitely thought about it, and it just to us doesn't necessarily make sense to pull up something that is brand new and also is really useful for, you know, even especially for our parents who are here watching our son with the stroller. You know, for a lot of reasons, it just doesn't seem to make sense to pull that up.
So were you involved in the application then for the home where a variance was granted for the
No.
home?
No,
No, we weren't
We didn't-
involved. We bought it when it was halfway complete. We just he let us pick the cabinets, for example.
yeah, we bought it when it was already, he was already
was done.
not wrapping up the building, but it was like wood, and we were able to pick out a few things. It was all kind of the builder doing
structure
this,
was
and
there.
he let us pick out a few things. We were completely unaware of the coverage guidelines. We really had no idea. So when we bought this house, we always had the intention to put the pool in, you know, naively not understanding or, you know, just having knowledge of the different laws in River Edge and ordinances.
Okay, those are my only questions.
Thanks, Ms. Boland.
Mhm.
Mr. Gibbons?
I was going to ask the same question because, even with the lower of your options here, you're still over what I'll just speak for myself. You're still over what I'm comfortable with. So I was looking at that side patio as well, or the walkway as an option. I don't know exactly what those dimensions are, but I would think eyeballing it, that would probably get you to 40%. So I'm not comfortable with over 40, and haven't been. So I would look at what that percentage is. If you want to have the pool, that would be my suggestion, because you're still over what I'm comfortable with. And I would think a lot of people here too.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Mr. Merman?
Question for Steve. Do you feel that C1 criteria has been met for this application?
Well, let me first say that by indicating that's really the decision for the board and its members to make, since
Okay.
I'm not a voting member. It's difficult to find a way to a C1 variance in this particular case due to the oversized nature of the lot and the
Correct.
fact that it's pretty much a rectangular lot. However, that's not to say the board couldn't grant the approval. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm just saying it's one of the more difficult ones because of the way the property's been redeveloped and the way the application is now presented to the board.
All right. Very good, thank you. So that reinforces what I was thinking. There really is no C2 variance hardship here, C1 hardship rather. Let me ask the applicant, on the C2 variance, what are the benefits to the borough of this installation?
Sure. We discussed last time a few things. We had a couple neighbors join. We really do think putting it with a pool, you have to put in a fence. If you look at our backyard, it's very bare. There's no privacy on any end. And I think it'll be a benefit, and our neighbor testified to that last time, that it'll be a benefit for additional privacy, since we basically stare into their kitchen over there. The other thing is, if you looked at the 3D image from the last meeting, there's a tremendous amount of landscaping that we were planning to put in. That'll be visible to not only our direct neighbors, but also to an extent from the front of the house. And we're going to put in seepage pits, which we have one already. And it actually, like the day after all these storms, our backyard, luckily, you know, I know other people had a hardship, but it was very dry. And I think that's a nice benefit to us and our neighbors. The last thing I'll say is I think it improves just our home, the value of the property, and therefore the value of other people's properties in the neighborhood. So a few benefits that we thought last time and one of our neighbors testified to. Two of our neighbors.
Right now, I think the only benefit to the borough is the fact that you're gonna put in a seepage pit, which would help the drainage off your site and to the borough. As far as a fence and landscaping, you don't need to come before the board for that. You could do it at any time. Let me follow up on some of the other possible reductions. We talked about the walkway to the rear. What about further reducing the deck?
You know, so the side walkway is something we considered. I'd just like to ask the question. So actually, yeah, if we remove the side walkway, it's 40.5 feet by 3.75 feet, which is about 152 square feet. It's almost 2%. Our lot's 8,000 square feet, right? So 160 square feet would be 2%. So 152 square feet, it's about 1.9%. It gets the 43.5 option down, and then it gets the 41.2 option to 38.3. So you want to consider that, we would consider removing the sidewalkway to get to the 39.3%.
Well, let me put it to you this way. You have a lot of variables there. The variable of the pool size. I don't see why you can't put in a smaller pool. It doesn't necessarily have to be from this manufacturer. It could be a gunite pool. It could even be an above ground pool. What would it take for you to get to no more than 40% maximum approved lot coverage? I think that's where we stand. You have a lot of variables. You know how the board feels. How do you get there to save this application?
Sure. So the 41.2% option that you see is the pool with just coping and no patio around it. We take that option. We'd remove the side walkway, which is 152 square feet, which is roughly 1.9% if you do the math, or 1.8 something, which gets us to about 39.3%. Steve, I don't know if you can check those numbers. So basically, that would be the option. The 41.2% site plan, no patio around the pool, and removing the side walkway as part of the project gets us to 39.3%, which is what we would propose.
So basically, you're saying if push came to shove, you could find a way to get below 40%.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Okay. That's the only way I could personally improve that part of the application, because my own personal threshold on the improved lot coverage happens to be 40%, which also happens to be in agreement with a lot of the other board members. So likewise, I'm not so sure you proved to my benefit all the C1 and C2 criteria. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll pass on to the next person.
Okay, I think that would be me.
I had one question. How many seepage pits are being proposed and or confirmed to be introduced?
How many what?
Seepage pits.
It's on the plan. I'm not sure what he wrote in. The gentleman who we had do it, Paul, did the calculation. Trying to find it.
I see there's two units on this is the site plan with the 41%.
Yeah, the 41.
Is that 2 additional units, or is that 2 total?
I believe that's 2 total that are required for the drainage calculation. So we'd add 1 additional.
You would add a third one?
Yeah,
yeah,
well, no.
Steve, is that,
So there, I believe it's saying that 2 are required per the lot coverage. I think that's what that's saying. I'm guessing. But Steve, I guess if you could help us
Yeah.
confirm, right?
because we'll do what we need to do.
Yeah,
So if
whatever-
you're telling us
whatever
we
the
need
engineer
3,
says
we'll
we
do
need.
3. If we need to do 2, we'll do 2. If you can confirm that for us.
So based on what the borough engineer recommends, that's what you, the advice you would follow. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that was my only question.
Okay. My only I mean, I think I, without going into, I have the same sentiments that many of the board members have shared with you already, but my one question for you is just to confirm, the equipment pad that's shown on the drawing at the back, is that for the pool equipment? Is that the pump and?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have. At this point, I think we will open the meeting to the public.
Just want to, can I clarify real quickly? We would like everyone to please consider the 39.3% option that was just presented.
For the voting purposes.
For voting purposes, if you move to that, because I know we've gone through the comments and haven't really heard anybody comment on that, but we would basically take the 41.2% option, to be very clear, remove the sidewalkway, which is 152 square feet, taking it to approximately 39.3%.
Okay, hold that thought for 1 second. Let's open to the public briefly for procedural purposes. May I have a motion to open to the public?
So made, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Merman. Mr. Gibbons, I have a second from you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? There being none, we're now open to the public. Marina, do we have anybody?
No, there are no attendees.
No attendees. Okay. That said, may I have a motion to close the public?
So moved.
Mr. Gibbons, thank you.
Second.
Second, Merman.
Thank you, Ms. Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, there being none, we're now closed to the public. Okay. So just, Mr. Gregg, I'll just to repeat procedurally what you had just said. You would like us to consider one of the options of possibly approving a 39% coverage.
Yeah, 39.3.
0.3. Okay. I open to the board. I'd like to entertain a motion on this application at this point.
I'll make a motion on this. So I would make a motion that block 815, lot 16, 470 Windsor Road be granted variance relief for improved lot coverage to not exceed, well, I don't know do we want to say 39.3 if that's not an exact number? Do we want to just say 40?
Can we
Can
say
we say
40?
40 in case I'm not?
So,
Perfect.
To not go over 40% for the installation of a pool and associated equipment.
And we also have to include the variance for lot coverage, which is requested at 26.4%.
Okay, and so that would also include the variance for lot coverage, 26.4% as well.
I might suggest, simply because the pool size has changed, that you might want to specify the pool.
Pool size
dimensions,
hasn't changed.
so there's no confusion as to exactly what's being approved, and that would include the lack of the side patio around the pool, I believe.
The pool size has not changed. There were 2 site plans, one at 41.2 with no patio. That's the site plan we're referring to.
So the resolution will reference the site plan that was provided at 41.2%, recognizing that the applicants are going to remove the side walkway. And if the board likes, then also they would have to submit revised plans with the final layout.
I believe Steve is referring to the pool size as 14 by 28.
Yeah, that's what it was from the beginning. We haven't changed the pool
Oh,
size.
okay. All right. I think it was suggesting it might be included in a motion.
We can certainly add that in as well, that the pool size would not exceed 14 by 28 as indicated in the plans that were submitted to the board.
Very
I
good.
think we just have to be specific as that sheet, because there were two different plans, so
I don't know where there's a number to specify.
I'm trying to see it. I don't think.
Both plans should have the same pool size, 14 by 28.
Yeah, we've been talking about the same pool size this whole time.
No, but the plan that we're actually dealing,
Yeah,
the plan that we're actually agreeing or proposing to agree to.
The problem is that they both have the revisions and they both have the same revision date.
The only difference is that the improved lot coverage on the one that has been discussed without the patio around the pool is listed as 41.2%.
Right,
So that's the one we have to go off of.
okay.
Right, and we're stating that the side paver walkway listed as paver walk will be removed.
Yes.
So I guess, can we just reference the 41.2% one that will need to be adapted to take that out?
Modified.
That suffice?
Rena, you want to review one more? You want to review?
Yeah. Okay, so the motion is to approve that application based on the plan submitted with 41.2% improved lot coverage, which will be reduced down to 40% improved lot coverage with the removal of the side paver walkway, and a variance will also be granted for 26.4% lot coverage, maximum lot coverage. The pool size is not to exceed 14 by 28 feet. And the applicants agreed to follow the advice of the borough engineer about the size and number of seepage pits.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Gibbons. Do I have a second?
Second, Merman.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. Marina, when you're ready.
Okay, Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Ms. Boland,
Yes,
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes,
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay.
Folks, thank you for your time with this. We appreciate your coming in. Wish you the best of luck with your project.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Right. So short agenda this evening. That actually is the last on the agenda. Any good and welfare from the board?
I have a question for Steve.
I'm listening.
Okay, I was gonna ask Tom, but I guess for you, it's more of a generic question. Have the boroughs received the results of the 2020 census yet? Has that been distributed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
And I do a couple of other towns for the firm, and I'm not aware of any of those towns getting materials either.
very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just while we're here real quick, I know that we're missing some folks tonight. Just remind me again, and we're trying to put a schedule together for our work session. What nights don't work for people that they know offhand right now? I know Eileen, you have a standing conflict one night a week.
typically a Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. Anybody else with a limitation during the week? Okay. Marina, we're gonna have to notice that meeting, so we'll probably have to pick something at this point, I would think somewhere down in November or so.
Okay,
To get on the calendar, just because I assume
yeah,
by the time we get it in the record. So we'll get an email out with a couple of dates. in the earlier part of November, just to, hopefully get something on the calendar prior to Thanksgiving, so for our work session, just so we can go through some of the topics of discussion that we've been speaking about in the past. So
The second week is better for me. I do have a lot of meetings the first week of the month.
second week, okay, all right. So we'll keep that in mind. Okay. Anything else from anybody? All right, appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We had a limited quorum this evening. We got it in. So thank you all for making the time. So with that, I will entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Yeah,
Thank you all. in
Second,
favor?
Merman.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Any opposed, any abstain? All right. Folks, have a great evening. We'll see you soon.
You
Good night,
too.
everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.